Hi, friends, and welcome back to Beyond the Classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Harding. Today, we're hearing about one of the most popular career choices for teachers beyond the classroom: instructional design. Why is it so popular, you might ask? Well, it allows teachers to stay connected to their love of teaching and learning, but just in a very different setting. My guest today is Sarah Hayford, a former educator who found a powerful way to stay connected to what she loved most about teaching, just outside of the traditional school system. She's now an instructional designer creating learning experiences for adults that are engaging, thoughtful, and accessible. In this conversation, Sarah shares her path from the classroom to instructional design, how she navigated fear and uncertainty, and what it really looks like to make an impact beyond the classroom walls. Whether you're curious about instructional design or just need reassurance that your skills do transfer, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. I'm Lisa Harding, ex-EdTech CEO turned certified teacher career coach. It wasn't all that long ago that I was recruiting, interviewing, and hiring teachers for roles in corporate America. Teachers that ended up being some of my all-time best employees. Fast forward through my own career transition, where I left my role as CEO to become a stay-at-home mom, I now work with and empower teachers to transform their lives by turning their once distant career dreams into realities. In this podcast, I give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're a burnt-out teacher or simply need a change and you're looking to create a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. I'm so excited to welcome our guest today. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
So glad to have you here. I love interviewing teachers that have made their way into corporate America and just kind of dissecting a little bit about your job. And I know instructional design is a hot area for teachers because there's a lot of transferable skills that you can use. But I also know that it has a lot of questions like, what is it? What are all the different titles? And a lot to unpack. So I'm excited to dive into that. But before we talk about the career, let's talk about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you were teaching and when?
Sure. About 2 years ago, total, I've had 13 years of experience as an educator. I was teaching English, both at the secondary ed level, so the high school level, as well as the middle school level. And I did that off and on kind of over the course of 13 years total. So in between, I kind of took a break and, I knew that I wanted to transition out of education around 2008. That was a while back, but so I really tried to find other things. I was in the admission office of our local liberal arts college. I was the general manager at Joanne Fabrics, which is amazing. That was fun. But I was just really searching for something until fate put me back in the classroom. And that's when I really started getting back into education. And, I do love education. I love being a part of it. I just knew a long time ago that being in a classroom wasn't exactly for me. So it was a conversation that I had with my cousin, who actually works remotely for a very, very large company that we all get our packages from. And I was asking her, how do you like remote work? Like, what can I do? I really want to be able to still be in education, but at the same time work remotely. And I know that's really difficult. And she said, have you ever heard of learning and development? And I said, no, I have not. She goes, it's L&D is the acronym. It's in every corporate, business these days. It's a department and it's an umbrella under which a whole bunch of things fall. So curriculum developer, instructional designer, all of these things. So she said, do a little research. Let me know, and then go from there. And so, wow, that finally somebody, and it was actually my own cousin, God bless her, that set me on the path to learning more about instructional design and learning and development as a whole. And so I did a whole bunch of research, really looked into a bunch of different programs, settled on one, and in about 6 months was starting to apply for jobs. So, it was a wild, fast 6 months is, some people may not find that fast, but I thought it was fast. with all the things that needed to be set up to be an instructional designer and start applying. But um, I thought it was really fast, and it really went well.
That's amazing. And I love that you're sharing a little bit about like your path to career clarity, because that's something that we talk about a lot here at the academy is how do you figure out like what you're going to do next? And there's two things that we always say are key, and you hit on both of those. One is networking. Turns out you just didn't have to go past your family, so kudos to you. But I mean, that's still networking. And two is research, research, research. Just really understanding it, trying to, I call it like wear the hat so that you can see like, does this feel good on? Like, does this feel like it might be for me? So networking and research, super important in the process. And it seems like that helped you out as well.
Definitely.
So yeah, so learning and development is more of the umbrella under which your current job falls. And what is your exact title where you are now?
I am an instructional designer, and I work for a nonprofit organization, a membership organization for doctors of osteopaths. So I work as their instructional designer for the American College of Osteopathic Internists. It's a mouthful, but it's short ACOI. And I create online e-learning education for physicians, which is crazy to me still. It is fantastic.
Okay, I love that too, because we always kind of talk about like a lot of times people think, oh, if I'm going to do curriculum development or learning content, I have to go work for an ed tech company. And we try to kind of bring it back and say, like, no, literally every company is hiring this. And then the first thought is often, well, I don't know anything about being a doctor or being a lawyer or any of these other fields. And you don't need to know that. So, can you kind of jump in? Like, what is your day like? How are you creating learning materials around something you don't know about that market? Let's kind of dive into that.
Right. So another acronym, SMEs, that stands for subject matter experts. So our physicians who are members, and in any other corporation, obviously, we can, as instructional designers, connect with those subject matter experts, and that's what they're for. They're experts on the subject matter. So we're that way we can focus more on the adult learning theories and building the learning based on those theories and organizing them, breaking it still down into smaller bites so it can be digestible, doing the research from the sources that our SMEs give us, and then they will look over the content and eventually look over what we've built and put their stamp of approval, and we know it's good to go. So it really does a collaborative effort. And so there's still that collaboration, there's still that breaking things down into smaller pieces. And it really is, it's expanding my education, you know, so I think that's one thing I really loved about teaching too, is learning right alongside my kids and, you know, kind of getting their knowledge too. So we're still doing that too, which is fantastic to learn from all of our internal medicine physicians that I work with on a daily basis is just incredible.
So, are you creating online digital courses or are you creating material that your SMEs then go out and they're delivering the content?
So I'm creating online e-learning material. So we are a membership organization. We provide continuing medical education points, much like the points that we have to have as teachers in order to recertify. And so as an accredited body, I provide that e-learning along with the SMEs to sit on an LMS, you know, kind of similar to Google, you know, Google Classroom. And it sits there on that LMS. And you know, members or non-members can purchase that education, get their contained medical education points that they can then use to recertify and license. So I'm using programs like Articulate 360, that's an industry standard, using Beyond, the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, all of those to put together and create all of this for our learners.
That's amazing. When you first were researching this, did you even know that this was a job?
No, I wish I had 20 years ago. I wish I had known that it existed 20 years ago because I mean, I hope I give everyone hope. I transitioned in my late 40s. So, you know, you still can. And this is, I mean, it's just mind blowing that this was even a thing, but it was, it existed 20 years ago. Um, I can still use my creativity. I can still use, I love to quilt and craft and all of that. Like Joanne's was almost a dream job for me. Um, but I can do that now through all of these programs, and it's just been a dream come true. It's almost like everything culminated to this moment.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. And I know the listeners can't see this, but you just have like a glow on your face. You can tell that you love this. And it's definitely, you can just see the passion coming off of your face that our listeners can't see. But what about maybe like, and I don't know if this exists at your organization, so we can skip this if it's not relevant, but are there other positions under learning and development that you know about that maybe you could share a little bit about those job titles too?
Um, I our organization is very small. We have 13 employees. It's
Oh,
been
wow.
around for
Okay.
Yeah, it's been around for 82 years. I'm actually their first instructional designer. So I am a team of one at the moment. My supervisor is incredible. She's had experience in different organizations, and so when it comes, I've actually spoken to other people outside of my current position just to find out what they do. I mean, I have a group that we get together twice a month for our conversations about technology, and we talk about what they do and how many are on their team. So I get exposure to that. There's instructional. That was something else I liked about this position, is that the ability to get promoted without having to go back and pay more money for more education. So um, there's senior instructional designers that I've spoken to. There's curriculum developers that I've spoken to. There's managers of L&D. So now you're managing an instructional design team. Um, so I mean, it's all of those different levels. Not to mention the fact that there's also freelance. I have several friends who are freelancers, and they have just get contract after contract, 1099 contract after contract. So I also love that the most about instructional design, that the possibilities are much greater, you know, in finding sources of income.
Yes, yeah, I love that. And it's there's not a scale that anyone can look up online and see what you're going to be making in 5 years. Like you have more control of your future, and hopefully you stay at one organization a long time. But for many people, it's a stepping stone to the next thing, to the next thing. And as you've already like stated for the audience, this type of career is in every field. I mean, I never would have thought of osteopathic medicine or like that's wild to me, and probably to a lot of educators that think I only know education, but when you partner up with the subject matter experts, you really have everything you need to kind of put it together and get it out there. So you're on a small team, 13, that's a small team. And as you pointed out, larger organizations might have a hierarchy, bigger teams. This seems like a career that really would lend itself to remote work. Do you work remotely, Sarah?
Yes, I work 100% remote, and it is incredible. The only, I mean, my coworkers are my cats, which, they're lazy and don't do much, but it's quiet in my house, and the work-life balance is incredible. If I need to walk away from the computer for a minute, that's perfectly fine. I'll go put my dishes in the dishwasher, come back, sit down, get back to work. So it just kind of gives you nice little brain breaks, and that fatigue isn't there anymore. The stress is not there anymore. And so it's just really a wonderful, it's wonderful for me. I know remote work's not for everyone, but it's absolutely perfect for me.
Yeah, I've been in office situations, remote situations, hybrid situations, and I definitely agree. Like they all come with pluses and minuses. Um, were you was there anything that you were surprised about like when you left? And I guess maybe my real question is maybe like, do you miss your summers? Because people want to know that. Like, do you miss your summers? Do you miss the time off, or how did that go for you?
I don't miss them at all, honestly. I mean, I don't I don't really care for super hot weather. Now, someday we're going to retire in Florida, but there's still air conditioning. Um, so I mean, I didn't really do anything in the summer that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So summers to me, I don't miss. Teachers, and I'm speaking from experience, we needed the summers off to just mentally recuperate. I don't need that anymore. I don't need to mentally recuperate anymore. I don't have that level of mental exhaustion that I had. And I also, working remotely has helped me want to go out and visit with people more. When I would get home from school, I'd
Yeah.
be so tired and overstimulated that I didn't want to talk to anybody, you
Yeah.
know? So now I really just love going out and seeing people and visiting with them after work and all of that. So, no, I don't miss my summers because now I get several weeks vacation in a year that I can take at any time during the year. So I can go see different places, like even the fall foliage on the East Coast. I could go see that and just plan it and not have to worry about getting a sub and making all the sub plans. If I need to leave, I just leave, and I don't have to worry about anything.
I also love that you tried a couple different things, went back to teaching because it wasn't the fit. Were there any skills that you gained at those other jobs that helped you get your job in learning development, or was that kind of irrelevant to like the L&D roles?
I really believe that the path that we take, little things prepare us for everything from everything that we do. We get something, some nugget, some learning, lifelong learner and educator from everything that we do, managing a staff and learning how to help people and deal with people and be that service minded leader has helped me to now be the service minded leader as I lead SMEs and how to read a storyboard or how to review this learning and things to look for. So it certainly helped me in that respect. Being in education at the higher ed level gave me experience because some of our physicians actually teach at the college level. So
Yeah.
I have things to speak to them about. I really believe that every single thing that I've done in my life has led me to this point.
Hey teachers, quick break in the podcast because I have something truly special for you. The Teacher Career Transition Summit is a free virtual event packed with expert advice, real success stories, and step-by-step guidance to help you explore new careers and land a job you love. It's happening on Saturday, June 14th. So if you're hearing this before then, go grab your free ticket. And if it's already passed, no worries. You can access the full replays or join a waitlist for the next one. Head on over to our website, teachercareertransitionacademy.com/summit to check out what's available now. And back to the podcast. If there's a teacher out there that says, well, all I've ever done was be in the classroom, I don't have anything else on my resume. Do you still see a path for them from classroom into instructional design?
Absolutely. We as teachers have so many transferable skills, and I think it's just simply changing the language. Corporate doesn't understand our language, and we don't understand theirs. But it really is kind of similar. You know what I mean? Just a few tweaks here and there on the resume, or different wording so that it's more corporate speak, or putting learning, like learning the tools that we use and creating an instructional design portfolio, which is a must, and putting some kind of corporate learning in that portfolio would show that you know what you're talking about. How many times have we as educators had to switch gears, or I had to switch gears on a daily basis, but in general,
Yep.
switch what we're learning. Like, what if the principal said, hey, guess what? You're not teaching fourth grade this year. You're going down to first, or you're going to go up to the junior high. How many times has that happened to people? And we figure it out. I think that's one of the best skills that we have is the ability to switch gears that fast and to figure it out quickly. Nobody gives us training on any technology. Nobody gives us any training on how to do this and how to do that. Really, it really is on the job training, because I don't know about you, but I've talked to a lot of teachers, and, we get the theory in our degree programs, but we don't get the actual, like, what are you going to do if, type of thing. So we're good at that. We're good at switching gears. We're good at flipping the script. We're good at all of that. And so I think it's confidence and knowing that there are other things out there that you can do. You just have to do the research, take the time, and do it. Is it easy? No. But like my dad always said, anything worth having is never easy.
Yep, that's a great saying. And I talk about like your adaptability. I'm like, especially anyone that was teaching during COVID. I mean, hello, like what teachers had to do during COVID? Like if any other professional had to do those things, like they would have quit. They would have been like, this isn't worth it anymore. Like,
Right.
I mean, that's incredible. Um, Okay, so you talked a little bit about rewording the skills, which is important and something that our audience like always has questions about. And we stress over the resume. Do you like, did you stress over your resume? Like, how did you kind of work through that? Do you have any tips that you'd be open to sharing?
I mean, truly, the program that I went through and really helped me. There were actual instructional designers on the staff that reviewed my resume for me, helped me to get into the rewording. Then there's Chat GPT these days. I mean, I really call Chat GPT my BFF because it helps me with ideas and wording that wouldn't have been there before. So I really think if you did some research, again, there's that research on how to reword your resume or transferring, rewording your resume to transfer skills from education into corporate language. The things that you will find on the internet are incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I love that. And even just following certain people on LinkedIn
Yes,
and going to professionals that are in that field and seeing how they word, you don't see their resumes, but you see their LinkedIn profiles, which are kind of mirroring what might be on their resume, and couple
correct.
that with just looking at lots of job descriptions for that job, even if it's not, a job, even if it's an in-person job in a city and state that you don't live, just reviewing those and looking at how they're wording things and comparing it to your transferable skills. Like, oh yeah, I do that. Another thing I thought was like a main takeaway from something that you were discussing was the portfolio and then the importance of having a piece in there that
Mhm.
speaks to corporate America. And I think people get tripped up on that a lot because they think, well, I don't know like what would be in corporate America, but there's lots of topics that are very general for employee. Like, I don't think it has to be specific to an industry. Like, it could literally be like a basic HR training on like how to
Correct.
be a good employee, like how to show up on, like, it could literally be anything. General that you might have even taken as soft skills at your school district.
Mhm.
But I always like to, get your opinion on that. Do you think we're on track there with saying that the topic doesn't matter as much as just that it can resonate and it's not for students?
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, you are the things that you did in education important, sure, but they're not going to resonate with anyone in corporate. They're not going to resonate with an HR manager or a hiring manager because they won't understand all the acronyms that we deal with in education. They won't get it, and they don't understand how hard that is, and that's okay. So you do have to shift. You're right. You do have to shift into that corporate mode, and you're right. The topic doesn't matter as much as that how clean is the education, what is the look of it, the graphic design principles, which, I had to learn something different with the graphic design principles. We center everything. Yeah, you should left justify things actually, because that's easier on the eyes. So, I mean, learning all of those different kinds of, less is more. We like to flood our PowerPoints with millions of fun little fonts and all kinds of different clip art, and that's not something that you should do, So I had to relearn some of those things, and that's okay too. But the portfolio is essential. I think having, illustrating somehow through the portfolio or through an interview, all of the different skills that you have, not just that you can build e-learning but we have a ton more. I mean, we speak in front of people every day. We speak in front of huge groups every day. Every day. Most people are scared to do that once in their lifetime. We do it every single day. We build PowerPoints, we manage, we organize all the things that we do. And I think that diversity in all of the different things, that the skills that we have are so, what do I want to say, attractive to
Yeah.
corporate.
Another thing, as a hiring manager, that was always attractive to me, and I know a lot of teachers struggle with this, is confidence in an interview process from any candidate. And I'm not just transitioning, like any candidate that comes in is confident, like that shows. And teachers sometimes lack that a little bit because they feel like they have imposter syndrome. Like, I've never done this before. Like, we're kind of like more timid when they go into the interview. But if I can say anything, maybe you can echo, like maybe your experience with this is, not only are teachers totally qualified for tons of roles outside and they're amazing and this and that with all of your hard transferable skills, like teachers also have soft skills that not every human adult has, that you don't realize because you're only working with other teachers. But teachers are on time. They are like probably early. They have passion for what they do. Like, they genuinely want to improve. They give 100%. They're so dependable, accountable, all of these things that you think that teachers, I think that everyone is like that, and the general population is not like that. So there's this whole set of soft skills that I hope maybe you walk away from this just knowing how amazing you are as a teacher. um, did you have to do anything to like boost your confidence to go into the interview, or did you feel timid, or does any of this kind of resonate with you?
I did. I mean, there's still some days sometimes that I have imposter syndrome. But again, the research is everything. I had never until this job worked with Adobe Creative Cloud. I was on a teacher salary. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
So, I can't, I was concerned and worried, but at the same time, YouTube videos are incredibly amazing for teaching me what I need to know quickly. So you have that imposter syndrome, but always remember that you have education right at your fingertips. Back when I was in 1999, when I graduated college, I would have had to go to the library to look things up, and I still wouldn't have the information I needed. Thankfully, we live in this day and age where you can just Google it, and you'll have the answer. There goes the imposter syndrome. Now you know how to do it, and now you can even teach others how to do it. Something else I did in preparing for an interview was I had a whole list of questions that I found, that would be asked in a corporate interview, and I just started going through them, flashcards, and started, what's my answer to this? What's my answer to that? And in a way that they would understand. And it really worked. I was
Good.
asked a couple of those questions, and I remember applying to 56 different positions,
Wow.
and I got one callback, and that's where I am.
Well, thank you for
So
sharing that, because we hear numbers like that all the time, and there's so many people that feel like I can't apply, like they feel like they're at their end of the rope, and I just keep applying and I'm not hearing anything, and that's exhausting, and that wears on your self-esteem, and honestly just doesn't feel good. But then it's like you get the one and that's it,
mhm,
and then in a few months you're looking back and you're like, yeah, I had to get all those no's to get this one yes, and that's all it
correct.
takes.
That's all it takes. And I didn't, you really have to look at it. It was funny. I used to I used to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics too. I was actually one of their senior sales directors. And so um, I remember them saying, when you're selling lipstick to somebody, if you go around the table, who cares if they all say no? If there's one yes, you sold it. Who cares? It's sort of like giving, asking people if they want a piece of gum. Are you heartbroken if they don't want your piece of gum? No. You just either put it away or you go ask somebody else if they want it. And it's the same type of thing. You're very valuable. You're certainly more valuable than a piece of gum. And you're just as much interviewing that person as they are you. And so, is this going to be a good fit for you also? And so, as I kept throwing all those resumes out and all those applications, I didn't care. I, I wanted it in the medical industry or animal welfare industry. Those are the two industries I wanted to look at. I kind of narrowed it down to that. And that's the direction I went. And that's how I set all of my filters on LinkedIn when I was applying. And it was so funny after, corporate doesn't get in any kind of hurry either. When you're a teacher and you're applying for jobs, generally you're going to get a call back in a week because they need you, right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't used to that, of this waiting for a month and a half. I mean, I think a month and a half later, I finally got the phone call, and I had completely forgotten that I'd even applied for this job.
Yeah.
And I used a website called Teal, Teal. It's free. Love it. That's the only saving grace. Because I saved that job on my list that I applied for it when I applied for it, and the description. That's how I knew who they were.
Yeah, no,
You know?
I love that practical tip, and tracking it, whether it's on a website or in a spreadsheet, is so important. So I love all of these practical tips that you're throwing out there, and just the fact how you mentioned like things move so different in corporate America. Not just like the timeline to get back on the first one, but also once you're in the interview process, it could literally be like the process could be 4 or 5 interviews, not every company, but it very well could be 4 or 5 interviews with recruiter, hiring manager, panel of your peers, hiring manager superior. And all of those interviews are like they're looking for different things. You have to prepare for different questions. Some are online interviews, some are AI interviews, some are in person. So it really is a different world. And I think the research goes back not just what career you want, but researching that process, who you're talking to, how you put your flashcards together. I love that. I recommend recording yourself in your own Zoom or on your phone. It's so awkward, but it helps you see what you look like. Like, do you look excited? Do you sound confident?
Right.
And it's all these little pieces that kind of add up to landing the job like you did.
Mm-hmm. It was.
How long have you been with your current company?
I started in June of 2023.
Awesome. So you have a good two plus years under your belt, and the smile is still ear to ear. So you're loving it. We can tell. If there's a teacher out there that, is struggling, maybe they're the one that's on application 56 or 156. What advice do you want to tell them?
Just keep trying. I mean, I looked at it this way. I already had a job, right? And I definitely needed a job. My husband at the time was going through a lot of medical issues. So I was the only breadwinner, so to speak. So I couldn't just jump out of a job and hope that I got another one. So I understand what it's like to prepare for one while you're doing another. And I knew that I didn't care how long it took me. This is what I wanted. And this is where I was going to be, regardless of what I had to do. And so I constantly would research and learn and practice and work on filling that portfolio, because I knew at some point I would. So I don't care. I didn't care if I applied one time or 1,000 times. Honestly, I had a paycheck and I was grateful for that. I just knew that if I stopped applying, it was certain that I wouldn't get a job. So I knew that if I kept trying, eventually you throw enough mud and it'll stick, So, and it did. It only took 56 times.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Loved having you on the podcast. So grateful for your time. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lisa. It was great.
I hope this conversation with Sarah reminded you that leaving the classroom doesn't mean leaving your passion behind. There are so many ways to stay rooted in education, ways that can offer more creativity, flexibility, and alignment with the life you want to live. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to check out the show notes for links to connect with Sarah and other helpful resources to help you on your steps in this journey. Remember, friends, the journey is just the beginning. Embrace the adventure.